Woo! Gotta mix it up. Hey, great morning, you guys. I'm fired up. Got my herbal tea hot, of course. Got done with an amazing weekend. Herbalife extravaganza just got finished. 14,000 people in one place. I'm fired up right now. Got some good rest, so I'm feeling rejuvenated. And it's Monday. That means it's Triple M time. That means it's even better. So super excited. Welcome everybody that's live on the call. And thank you guys for everybody that's going to be watching the recording. We are starting the week strong. In Triple M Monday Morning Motivation, that's the intention. To get started together, to get started on the same page, and to get started powerfully. So today we're going to be listening to a video by Jim Rohn and Tony Robbins. Man, what better duo is there? Jim Rohn actually mentored Tony Robbins and Mark Hughes, the founder of Herbalife. He's so beloved by us and so many people around the world. And then he also mentored a guy named Tony Robbins who's changed lives all over the world. So today they're going to be talking about what are you becoming? You know, you could be at a job and you could be doing things and you can have activities, but it's not the thing. It's about what you are becoming. So that's what we're going to be listening to today. If you're live on the call, go ahead and take some notes on your notebook, or if you're driving mentally, because we're going to have some shares at the end. So without further ado, Prezi is fired up. We're going to put her in the room. But welcome to Jim Rohn and Tony Robbins. Let's get it.
What are you becoming? What are you becoming? See, the big question is not what am I getting paid here. The big question is what am I becoming here? Because true happiness is not contained in what you get. Happiness is contained in what you become. Here's the big challenge of life. You can have more than you've got because you can become more than you are. That's the challenge. And of course the other side of the coin reads, unless you change how you are, you'll always have what you got. I have found in my experience that income does not far exceed personal development. Now sometimes income takes a lucky jump. But sure enough, unless you grow out where it is, it'll usually come back where you are. Life has strange ways. If somebody hands you $1 million, best you become a millionaire quickly, so you get to keep the money. Otherwise, sure enough, it'll disappear. Somebody once said, if you took all the money in the world, divided it up equally among everybody, it would soon all be back in the same pockets. Incredible. Success is something you attract, not something you pursue. Success is looking for a good place to stay. So instead of going after it, you work on yourself. Personal development. See, the major question to ask on the job is not what are you getting. The major question to ask on the job is what are you becoming? See, the big question is not what am I getting paid here. The big question is what am I becoming here? Because true happiness is not contained in what you get. Happiness is contained in what you become. So that's our major subject for tonight, personal development. Of all the assignments Mr. Schoaf gave me at age 25, this was probably the most difficult. In fact, I'm still working on this one. I think it's an unending challenge to see what you can become. The next subject is called Basic Laws. And it's good to study the basics. And I call these basics primarily because they come from the Bible. Now, I'm not a theologian or a minister, and that'll be apparent. But Mr. Schoaf taught me that the Bible was a good textbook for ideas and stories and success equations, how to live the better life. I found out that was true. He also taught me that the Bible is as practical as it is spiritual, and I found out that's true. If you look at your bank account and your income and you're not happy, there are several places in the Bible to check to see what the heck's wrong so you can make the changes. And we're going to cover some of those tonight, called basics. Okay, the next subject is my favorite, setting goals. Mr. Schoaf taught me how to set goals. What a favor that was. One morning at breakfast, shortly after I met him, He said, Jim, let me see your current list of goals and let's go over them and talk about them. He said, maybe that's the best way I can help you get a better direction started. And I said, I don't have a list. He said, well, is it out in the car or home somewhere? I said, no, sir. I don't have a list anywhere. He said, well, young man, that's where we got to start. He said, I can tell you right now, if you don't have a list of your goals with you, he said, I can guess your bank balance within a few $100s. Which he did. And that got my attention. I said, you mean my bank balance would change if I had a list of goals? He said, drastically. That day I became a willing student how to set goals. And sure enough, learning how to set goals changed my life. And I often wondered why no one had ever taught me how to set goals up until age 25. I went to high school, but if they offered it, I missed it. I went to college for a year, never heard it. I worked for Sears. Really. And to my knowledge, Sears never taught it. Right? How to set goals. So here I am, age 25, married, my family's starting, I've been to college, I'm working, and I still don't know how to set goals. But fortunately, when I was 25, I met the man who taught me how, and it revolutionized my whole life. Economically, socially, personally, it's incredible. So I want to share with you tonight what Mr. Shove shared with me, how to set goals. It can be a life changer. Okay, the next subject is the negative part of the seminar. Life is part negative, so we got to talk about the negative. And this subject is called diseases of attitude. Diseases of attitude. There's a lot of things that can wreck your chances to do well. We live in a rather dangerous world, so you got to be not only wise, you got to be careful. Now, attitude diseases are just as bad as physical diseases, right? High blood pressure, heart trouble. I mean, a lot of things will ace your chances to do well. So you've got to be careful. And attitude diseases are deadly. I mean, they'll destroy all the good things you start. Okay? So we'll go through those attitude diseases, how to spot them, how to look for them, what they are, and the cure. And I'm a pro on these because I've had them all, so I can give you excellent advice on these. Now, the last subject we're going to consider tonight is called the day that turns your life around. The day that turns your life around. And under this subject, we're going to talk about the emotions that can change your life. Human beings are emotional creatures, and emotions are powerful for life change. Now, of course, emotions are so powerful they can go either way on you. Emotions can either build or destroy. So you really have to employ emotions properly. We call civilization the intelligent management of human emotions. If you can intelligently apply your emotions in the right direction, no telling what can happen. Could turn your life around one day would be sufficient. So we'll talk about those. Could turn your life around one day would be sufficient. So we'll talk about those.
What is this really about? Ultimately, if you're going to have lasting change in anything, you're really talking about just raising your standards. I mean, I always tell people, if you want to know how to change your life, I give it to you in 3 words, boring as it sounds: raise your standards. And what does that mean? Corny as it sounds. Raise your standards. Oh, thank you for the breakthrough thought, Tony. I'm glad I wasted my time watching this little email with you. But think about it. Lasting change is different than a goal. You don't always get your goals, but you always get your standards. Maybe it would help you is to think about it this way. I try to explain standards to people with a different set of words. Think of it as everybody in life gets their musts. They don't get their shoulds. Right? Think about it. Most people have a list of shoulds, don't they? Don't you have a list of the shoulds, things you should do, you should follow through on? I should lose some weight, I should work out more, I should make more calls, I should respond more rapidly to my email, whatever, you know? I should get into the office earlier, I should be, more confident. Whatever your should list is, people love to have their should list be met, but it's kind of like New Year's resolutions. If it does, it's really exciting, but if it doesn't, which is most of the time, it's a little disappointing, but you kind of know it's not going to happen. But when you decide something is a must for you, an absolute must, when you cut off any possible, you say, I'm going to find the way or I'm going to make the way. Human beings when they resolve things, when they make a real resolution inside themselves, which is they raise the standard and they make it a must, they find the way. Think about it in your own life. Haven't you had some area of your life where you raise your standard and your life has never been the same? Maybe at one time in your life you smoked cigarettes, or you did something and you did it for years and you kept trying to change it, and kept telling yourself, I should. And then one day something happened. Something just clicked you over. Something took you over that kind of tipping point. And inside yourself you said, no more. And it was a very, very different experience, wasn't it? Something inside of you shifted. And what was a should became a must, and you've never gone back. Is there an area like that in your life you can think of? Again, did you ever smoke cigarettes? Did you ever eat a certain way, drink a certain form of alcohol, and then finally say no more, and you just don't go back? And notice this, it doesn't really take any willpower anymore. Because somewhere when we make this click, when we make something a must, we attach ourselves to it. It becomes part of our identity. And one thing I've learned in the last, 33 years of working with people from now over 100 countries, 4 million people, is human beings absolutely follow through on who they believe they are. If you said to me, well, I'm really going to work hard to stop smoking, but I've been a smoker my whole life and I am a smoker, I know your days are numbered. You're going to be back smoking cigarettes again, because we all act consistent with who we believe we are. I tell people the strongest force in the whole human personality is this need to stay consistent with how we define ourselves. If you define yourself as somebody who is really conservative, you're not going to be crazy and act nuts unless you're really drunk or something, and then you can say it's the alcohol, when it's really just you finally getting permission to be yourself. The alcohol is your excuse. If you're a really crazy person, you act crazy, outrageous, playful. You don't act conservative because that's not who you are. Very often people say, well, I can't do that. I'm not that kind of person. And I always say to people, really, when did you define yourself? I mean, really, how many years ago did you come up with what you could and couldn't do in your life? How many years ago? Most people, if they really look at how they're living their life today, it's based on a set of standards, a set of beliefs that they made choices about 10, 20, 30 or more years ago. I mean, very often we made decisions in our youth or very young about what to believe, about what we were capable of, about who we are as a person, and that becomes the glass ceiling, if you will, that controls us. There's a corny metaphor, but it's true. I remember one time I was with my family at the circus, and there was a person there, and they had this big, giant elephant. And you look at this elephant, and they take this little rope, put it around the elephant's neck, and they drive this stake into the ground. And I mean, you look at this, and you know that elephant could rip down the entire tent with almost no effort. And yet, the elephant doesn't struggle, doesn't try. Why? Because the elephant's conditioned. And they take that elephant and condition the elephant when it's a baby elephant. That's how they train him. When it's a little baby elephant and it doesn't have the power yet, they put a big rope around it and they drive this huge stake in the ground, and the elephant fights and fights and fights. And one day, finally, that elephant decides, I'm not capable of pulling this out. And once that becomes the definition of an identity of anyone, an elephant in this case, they don't even try anymore. It's just who I am, that's how it is, that's just the way it is in my life. I'd like to ask you to take a look at any place you've got a limitation and ask yourself, when did I decide to accept that limitation? And you may not even see it as a limitation, you might see it as just that's who I am. But so often in our lives we've adapted to be a certain way so that we don't fail or so that people will like us or respect us, but it's not necessarily who we are. Joy comes when you're spontaneous. It's really hard to be truly happy when you're not being yourself. And most of us have no clue who we are. And so a big part of my work, if you've ever been to an event, you know, is to get people to do things spontaneously without thinking, because that's when the real you shows up. That's when the energy comes alive. And when you do that, when you start to connect to your true nature, suddenly there's energy available for you to set a higher standard for what you want in your life. That's what this is really all about. And when I talk about standards, when I talk about, shoulds versus musts, think about your own life. I know there have been areas in your life where some point in time you just shifted and you raised the standard and your life changed. Because whatever people have their identity attached to, they live. We live who we believe we are. That's just how it works. It's just kind of like, I'll give you an example. Look at your physical body. Your physical body today is an absolute reflection of only one thing, not your goals, not your desires, but your standards. The identity you have for yourself. If your standard is you're an athlete, then there's a certain amount of strength, a muscle tone, and energy that's available in your body on a regular basis because that's who you are. And so you do whatever's necessary to maintain that identity. Again, the strongest force in the human personality is this need to stay consistent with how we define ourselves. Because if you don't know who you are, you wouldn't know how to act. Once you lock in on that identity, your brain finds a way to keep you there. If you say, man, I'm overweight, I've always been overweight, I'm big boned, and that's the story you got, then you're going to always find a way to get back there. That's your settling point. That's your identity. That's where things lock in. If you see somebody who's in really great shape, you ask them, do you work out? You know the answer. Yes. How often? And they'll tell you 3 times, 4 times, 5 times a week, whatever. In a seminar, I'll ask people, who here works out at least 5 days a week? And I'm stand up. And you look around that room, and you know that they work out 5 times a week because you can see their body. You don't just get a result without some kind of action, without some form of ritual. Ritual meaning actions you do consistently. Now, do you think those people that are out there working out 5 days a week, do they have more time than you do? Or I have, or anybody else? Of course not. Is their life less busy? Of course not. It's just a must for them. They must work out that way, and they've made that turn and their life changed. So I'm not saying you have to work out 5 days a week. I'm just saying whatever you really want, wants don't get met consistently. Standards do. Whatever you identify, this is who I am. And so it's not so much about changing your identity as there's expanding it. Deciding that, instead of your goals to lose 10 pounds, which is not compelling, what if your vision was to get back to my fighting weight? This year, this month, this next 90 days, I'm going to transform my body. I'm going to take on a new challenge. I'm going to find some technique or strategy, there's a million of them, that can reframe myself where I want to feel younger, stronger, more vibrant than ever before. Here's my reasons. Because I want the energy to really make my life work. Because it's tough out there, and I want to be stronger than I've ever been before. I want to go in front of the mirror, and if I'm naked, not, want to laugh. I want to look there and take a good look and go, yeah, I'm proud of whatever I see there. Whatever it takes, something's going to make you laugh, smile, something that's going to tease yourself, but something's going to move you to another level. If you identify yourself in a new way and you own that every day, and that becomes the standard of how you live, you'll find the way to make that standard real. Money's the same.
Ooh, that was powerful, you guys. So many nuggets there. That video was really great. Let's hear from Roxy first.
All right, what's up, you guys? So I'm going to start with who we started with, Jim Rohn. And some of the biggest takeaways that I had is I loved how he talked about personal development, and just like who you become is what you attract in your life. And I loved how he talked about how your income will never exceed your personal development. As cliche as that may sound, even in Herbalife, they always say your volume is just a representation of who you are and your standards. So I really, truly believe that because I have seen it happen to us where we could have been in a certain state of mind in a certain space at that time. But once we decided that that's it, no more, this is at the level that we are going to play at, and it's no longer a goal, but it's a must. I've seen so many things change. But why? Because our standards were shifted. Who we want to become has shifted. And in your life, in order to attract the things that you want, some things are going to have to change in order for you to attract that. So I really, really loved that. And I loved how he said to have a list of goals. And I think that's amazing. But then I also loved how Tony Robbins said, you don't always get your goals, you get your standards, because it's so easy at the beginning of the month, at the beginning of the year to write down all the things that you want. But if you're not willing to raise your standards and change who you are going to become, then you're not going to get any of those things. So I really, really love that. And then another one, I'm going to go ahead and close off with this one. I loved also how he talked about to ask yourself, when did I decide to accept any kind of limitation? Because if there's anything that stops us and holds us back, it's our own self and the conversation that we have inside of our head. He said, if you say, hey, I've always been overweight, I'm big boned, or all these things, even if you lose the weight, you're going to end up there again because that's who you see yourself as. So whenever you have that, ask yourself, when did I accept that that's who I was? and know that you always have the power to change that and to really move forth with who you truly believe that you are. But in order to get lasting change, your standards are going to have to change. And he said, wants to not get met consistently, standards do. So I really took away standards, and just even take a challenge for the next 90 days. You know, there's some people on this call that went to Extravaganza, some new people on this call. You know, set a challenge with yourself of the next 90 days and see what you can do. You know, for instance, for me, I never, with the alarm clock, I snooze. So that's something that I would love to challenge myself in, is to not snooze anymore, because I have to become a certain type of person in order to reach my next level that I want in my life. So
nice. That was epic. Man, there were so many nuggets. I got to stand up for this one. There was a lot of nuggets on this one. I want to share 3 points because I really got a lot of value from them. Number one is, it's not what you're getting, it's what you're becoming. If you're at a job, if you're a part of a group, if you're building an enterprise, if you're in Herbalife, if you're doing whatever, it's not about what you're getting, it's about what you're becoming. This is something that I've been realizing because I still do physical therapy. I see patients. I'm going to see them after this. And I love that. I love helping people. But I have to get clear on consistently that that isn't like a per patient or an hourly job, meaning that that is how I get compensated from that. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I also have to remember that what I'm becoming is just always going to be that. There's not going to be more than that. So if I want more in my future, I can't keep doing that same thing, meaning that that hourly rate will not build the future dreams that I currently have. So I just get to be aware of what I invest my time in and the future that will create in what I invest. And what I mean by that is I can do more hourly work and I'll get a bigger paycheck, and that'll be great. But that's not going to change my future. Or I can invest my stuff in my Herbalife business, which may not be an hourly rate. It may not even be huge check right now, but the future is bigger for that, because it's clear that if I invest now, there is no limits inside of my Herbalife business because of the growth potential. So what I'm becoming is abundant through my Herbalife business, or I can just get a higher paycheck right now. And what I mean by that is, if you want more, like he said, you can get more than what you have because you can become more than you are. Flip side of that is, if you don't become more than you are, you will always get what you have. And that's what, for me, I had to really get clear on and say, hey, I'm not going to just go for a bigger paycheck right now and put hours into something that has no growth potential past where I'm at. I'm going to invest in something that may not have a big paycheck right now, humongously, but has amazing growth potential because of who I'm becoming. And that's why I chose not to be a full-time physical therapist. I do it part-time because I invest the majority of my time into our Herbalife business. So I really, if you can understand that, if you're at a job with an hourly rate and you don't see any growth in you, maybe you're hourly, or maybe you're doing something, you're like, hey, I don't want to become a manager, because for me, my manager or my rehab director, she made a few more dollars an hour, but she was stressed. She had no time with her family. I was like, why would I want to do that? So why would I invest more energy into my job to get to a place I don't want to go? So for you, where are you investing your time? Is it creating the future that you want? And maybe if it's not, I'm going to suggest that you might have to invest in something right now, whether it's your Herbalife business, whether it's writing a book, whether it's taking on an extra class at college, that may not show the fruits right now, but that has amazing growth potential in the future, if you want an amazing future. Really love that. Number 2, where's the list of your goals? Jim Rohn said, I don't have it. He said, where's it at? Out in your car? He's like, nah. He's like, okay, I can bet your bank account within a few hundred. He's like, my goals have a link to my bank account. I said, absolutely. If you heard, he said, nobody ever taught me how to set goals. I worked at Macy's. I went to college. I went to high school. I was the same way. I was just thinking about it. I was like, who taught me how to set goals? Nobody ever taught me that until I came into Herbalife. And that changed everything. I never used to write my goals down. I had a general idea of where I wanted to go. I was like, I want to be this. I want to be that. Just thoughts every now and then when I probably see the car on the street, or I saw the tall condo building. It was never clear. It was never like crystal clear planned until I came to Herbalife. Then I heard the 10X rule, and I heard Grant Cardone. If you haven't checked that book out, check that book out. He says he writes his goals down every morning and every night. Every morning and every night. So he's crystal clear on where he's going with the activities that he does in that day. I used to only write my goals down once a month when I came into Herbalife. And I was a great, like, new level. But then I started writing them down every single day. I have notebooks filled up with goals. Because what you think about, you bring about. And if you think about your goals, you bring about your goals. So that was key. And then number 3 is must versus shoulds. Must versus shoulds. I'll just share a little story with you guys. I do affirmations in the morning. It's something that I didn't understand before. I've tried it. It's cool. Now I know the power of it. Affirmations are things like, you know, I wake up in the morning, I'll do a morning stretch, and I'll get deep breathing. I'll be like, I am a king. And I'll either look at myself or I'll just scream it out. I'll be like, I am successful. I am president's team. And what I'm doing is I'm breathing deep during it. But what I'm really doing is, if you can understand this, this will change your life. I swear to God. Before, I used to do things that didn't serve me. And I didn't know why. I couldn't stop things. I don't know for you if you have any vices or you have any things that you're like, I know I shouldn't do this, but I do it anyway. And then the minute I started raising my self-image, and what I mean by that is I say I am a king. And I love in the Herbalife community, a lot of the males will go around and be like, yo, what's up, king? And I didn't understand that at first. Now I do. As a king, what would a king do? A king has a queen. One queen. A king leads from the front. The king was always in great shape and always stood tall and proud for his people. A king was fearless. A king did things for his kingdom, not just himself. A king always wanted to become the best to show his people that they could be the best. A king thought about more than himself. A king was committed. A king never quits. So if I keep saying, I'm a king, I am a king, I am a king, even if at first I don't believe it, eventually I'm going to program myself to be like, yo, bro, you are a king. So when decisions come up in my life, yo, should I quit? Nobody will know this thing if I do it but me. Should I do it? In my head, I'm like, yo, you're a king. What would a king do? A king does things the right way no matter who's around. And you start programming yourself to act like your identity. Remember, he said human beings need to be who they think they are. But that can also damage people because some people think they're failures. Some people think they're not worth it. Some people think that, you know, that they're not supposed to have great things or they don't deserve great things. So they do things to sabotage themselves. Some people think they're big bone or they're always going to be fat or they're always going to be skinny or they're always going to be poor. So guess what? When they get things, they sabotage themselves because they don't even believe that's who they are. I've had so many clients get amazing results. People lose over 100 pounds and they lost it because they didn't change their identity. They didn't see themselves as a new person. They still saw themselves, whether they knew it or not, as the old person. That's why you got to get rid of old clothes. You got to get rid of old things in your life. You got to become the new person so that when the thoughts, the opportunities to slide back, say, yo, I'm not even that person anymore. I couldn't even do that. If you think of yourself as a smoker, you're going to go back eventually. So create your identity, and I really love affirmations for doing it because it takes time, but it will create a new person in you. So that was really fired out. I know I went a little long on that, but there were some good nuggets. I want to get 1 or 2 shares from the call-in line. I see Susie. I see Anthony. Let me see a hand up. Let's get Susie, and then we'll get Anthony. All right, Susie, what you got for us?
Hi, good morning, guys. The part that I took the biggest, my biggest takeaway was the whole raising the standards. I think Tony Robbins is the one who touched on that. I never really realized, I smoked for 9 years. I never really realized why I quit, other than, I wanted to be healthy, but that is my standard that I set for myself. And in order for me to feel like genuinely healthy all around, I knew that was part of what was unhealthy, and it's crazy because it's been 1.5 years already since I quit smoking, and I don't think it had really hit me until just now that hearing that. So that was my biggest takeaway from today's.
Awesome. Raising your standards. I acknowledge you. That's awesome. I didn't know you quit smoking. That's epic. Great work. Anthony Brooks, what you got for us?
Kind of the same points you had. The whole setting your goals and your bank account. That kind of hit me personally too, because I never really, like you said, I've always had goals in my mind, but I never really ever wrote them down. And I think it's right. It does reflect in your bank account. So that's something that I'm gonna start working on doing. And the whole who you are is your identity. My first 2 years in freshman and sophomore year, and in football, I played quarterback in middle school. So I switched to wide receiver, and I couldn't catch worth a lick. And everybody was always picking on me, saying hot hands, butterfingers, and that was in my mind. And so every time a ball went up in the air, I never thought I was gonna catch it. And I never did. I always dropped it. And then I had a new receivers coach my junior year, and that's all we did. We practiced on catching the ball, all summer ball, practice on catching the ball. You always say you got good hands, you just need to focus more. And in my junior year, I had over 1,000 yards receiving, 10 touchdowns. I was playing college ball. So you have to change your mindset. Once you change your mindset, and once you start believing you can do something, you can start it comes through. And the whole should versus must thing, I'm gonna start working on that too, because I think that's important. Like I always say, I should do this. I need to start going back and saying I must do it, and then I start doing it.
Epic, man. Nice share. That was a really good story. Appreciate that. My man Orlando is asking if there's time for another share, and for my man Orlando, of course. Let's get it. Oh.
Hey, what's going on? Also, remember, one day everybody, they will get to that point where you have set your standards and you know who you are and you're going for what you're going to get. Just be mindful of those around you. Always be mindful of those around you that they don't view, once you lose the weight, they won't view you as that skinny person. Oh, you don't look right. You should gain the weight back or gain some weight back or whatever you're going for. Just keep in mind that there will be those that will not view you the way you view yourself, and that you have to kind of stay not so much stay away from them, but stay away from their perception of you. If you know that you're the person you're going for, and they don't see that in you, just keep going for it and try to block out them as much as you can without kicking them out of your life if you can help it.
Dope. That's actually really true. They'll see you as the old you, and they'll try to bring you back. And not even consciously, but sometimes they'll do it because you changing puts spotlight on the fact that they haven't changed. And that can be tough for people. So love them no matter what, but sometimes you got to love from a distance. Love it. Is anybody really fired up to share? Or if anybody has like something they really, really want to share because they were touched, let me know. If not, we'll get to our Monday. All right, everybody's good. Everybody took good nuggets.
I think,
Did somebody say something?
Ava.
Oh, Ava, let's get it. I'm going to take you off mute. Let's get it, Ava. What you got?
Good morning. I am still fired up from yesterday, guys. You have no idea. And right now, you just hit down with the fact that I need to get rid of a lot of stuff. Like you're talking about getting rid of clothes, getting rid of the old me. I was like, you guys can kind of tell I still haven't put my makeup on. I didn't get ready. I gotta go to work. But I am so focused on that goal. Like I'm talking to family members right now. They're like, "Oh, so how are you doing?" I'm good. I'm like, "I'm good. I need to be supervisor by October." It's like, you want to be? No, I need to be supervisor by October for Herbalife. Like I have this fuel now because of everything that we have been talking about all weekend, this morning, and I just can't help but to continue saying thank you guys, thank to all the team members, everyone all across. This is amazing. And I'm gonna probably not sleep tonight because I gotta clean out my closet.
There you go. Clean it out. New Ava 2.0 is uploading and downloading. Excited for you. Let's get it. Awesome stuff, you guys. We're gonna upload this video to YouTube. Tell your people if they weren't able to watch live, there was massive nuggets. Send out the link. Every Monday morning, we start live here, 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Zoom. We had some new people tune in. Thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you everybody that's watching in the recording. This is really something that we are excited to grow. Like how people had Friends as like their show they watch, or for me, it was The Simpsons when I did watch TV. That's as far back as like I used to watch TV. But I want people to be like, yo, Triple M is how I start my week because it betters my life. And because of it, we live a better life. Let's be that for people. And because it's not just us, it's your guys' input. It's your guys' energy on the call that makes the calls. And actually, we're going to call it the Triple M Show, because when I started Herbalife, I wanted to have a show, and people are used to the show. The Triple M Show that we all make amazing. Let's continue to change lives through it. So excited for you guys. I'm going to take everybody off mute, and let's turn up. Happy Monday, y'all. Let's get it.
Good. That Monday.